for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved divine.
Hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today. It is a video that I had no intention of recording until certain things happened to me in my body, and it will be therefore another very deep video with insights for everyone, but especially for the Starborn family here, the Star Collective of souls, of volunteer souls. Not to say that most of the people who are somehow attracted to me and my videos and my work are volunteer soul, and if not so, they are stars. Sorry, we have a visitor. We have a mini tiny lizard, you know, that lives here in the tree, and he's paying attention, he's listening. So someone's listening to the video. He's telling us, pay attention, okay? This will be a deep video. It's hard for me to focus with this cute little guy looking at me like this. Stop it. Go, go, go. I had to chase it away because I just can't. I love these guys so much. But anyway, today's video will be a huge culmination point of the transgression work. If you haven't watched any of my transgression videos, actually all the videos since the last 2 years were mainly about this phenomena. It is a worldwide phenomena. It is a spirit phenomena first, and then the physical. Stop it, look, he just found another peephole. No. Okay, go, 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 go. Look, look. I put my hand, he's not even afraid. Oh goodness. He really wants to listen. Someone is speaking and wanting to listen. Maybe there's a message for someone who is hiding but still needs to hear this, okay? I don't know. I'm just trying to be serious because it's a serious topic. And I can't present it from a funny perspective. Not today, okay? Okay. Sorry, guys. This was a kind of a surprise for me. I didn't see the buddy when I was still prepping my gear. But anyway, deep breath. Before I actually go into today's topic and tell you some of the things that I've been receiving for quite some time and I haven't really put out in this condensed form yet, before I go there, I just want to first share my experience, okay? For those of you who know nothing about this, right? Again, the whole Starlink family, the whole phenomena is somehow a part of this collective of transgression work. The reason why I'm also going to talk about sexual trauma in regards to this is because of the way transgression operates to hit our physical bodies, to influence our physical bodies. For example, why do you think so many beings have, when they have regression work and they feel they have been abducted or they've had abduction experience, that they always go and have an experience of something being done to their sexual or reproductive organs? I will explain these things, right? But I want to explain first about what's happening to me, what's been happening for the last 2 years, and what has beautifully climaxed just yesterday, because I went through a profound reset, a profound birthing, and I want to give you the entire experience. I want to share with you, because some of you that have been noticing a sort of withhold in your own body, and everyone in this realm, don't feel yourself excluded, has a form of sexual trauma. And we need to discuss these things from the perspective of transgression so we can unveil them and see that it's nothing wrong with us. It's not necessarily something to do with, oh, with a past life or this and that. We have to go to the core. Because to heal these things, right, you have to go deep into the reserves of the recesses of our psyche and our memories, that our psychic memories that often come through as bleed-throughs through our dream realm. And these experiences are reflected now in our body. And everyone has wounds in their body. I've actually also talked to some men, and they've told me, I've had this feeling, and I've been sexually repressed or suppressed, and I've had sexual trauma. And women, all of them at different levels, at different extents. And sexual trauma is not just, oh, you know, I have an ability to be sexual with someone, or, you know, let's say you have dysfunctions or something like that. It has nothing to do with that. It can just be us not authentically, immaculately expressing our God-given gift of sexuality as in a tantric form, which is pure, it's benevolent, and it's to sustain our bodies, it's to elevate ourselves. The purest form of sexuality is to elevate ourselves or ascend our bodies. You know me, I'm a physical ascension teacher, and ascension is a gradual process, right? For many now, the level of their ascension process is still more held within their mental bodies, and they're processing a lot of information. And when that's done, their soul will say, enough of that, next cycle. And ascending and ascension are two different things. Physical ascension is just the last step for you to take when you literally transcend the whole physical dualistic experience of revolving around this whole phenomena experience that you're having now as a physical human being. It's just that final liftoff within the elevating yourselves gradually, right? So you've seen me talk a lot about transgression in the work, and these electric rays, the energy rays, all that's occurring, and they are multifaceted, right? So I want to explain to you first from the beginning of my experience, right? Those of you who don't know me, and even if you do, I always tell you, you have to see everything in a new light. When you're ascending, you also have to see visions more and more neutrally and clearly, whatever you're watching. There's everyone who's evolving is becoming more of who they truly are. Everything that's basically not evolving is just staying stuck and stagnant. So you need to always see things with new eyes. Even people, let's say, who've been watching my videos or watching me for years, it's time for a new perspective, okay? So from my deepest perspective, from the core of my being as a light being self, my purpose or my origin in creation is I'm a creation angel. Creation angels are in fact the purest beings in this benevolent part of this universe and beyond. What we do, right? We create unions within ourselves, and unions are tantric based. So this tantrika means the union is a triangulation process. So what we do is we create just like Source creates. The sacred beings called the tantrikas are the most ancient beings who've always followed the narratives and the principles of Source as the prime immaculate directive of life. It is not just source of life, but life that is pure, immaculate, and benevolent. If you haven't yet met God as that source, or source as God, that central source intelligence of benevolent life, then you haven't really met God yet. This intelligence is so pure, it is so immaculate, it is so benevolent, and those who serve this consciousness, they themselves are replicas of this God source intelligence. So creation angels are beings who use God intelligence to perform unions within their bodies. So they always exist in couples, we exist in pairings, right? We exist in sacred heroes, gamos pairings. And when we move into life, into form, our creations are meant to triangulate, which means embrace aspects that are still dualistic, right? We have the two is always polarity when it's not yet unified, right? It's still somehow in conflict with itself. It's duality. So what creation angels do, we come and we bring those aspects of duality into trinity, into a form of triangulation, okay? So basically it's very simple. Recently, I unveiled a very profound automatic channeling received directly from these beings, and my mission team, they're called, or I basically call them Aureus. And Aureus were also known as the ancient beings of life force intelligence and how to operate with life force through the body. So this life force intelligence is a central intelligence, right? So when you're really intelligent, you're not intelligent through mind and knowledge, you're intelligence through currents of life force and how they're basically guiding you through the principle of life that is God. God is the ruling principle of life, not the mind, right? And as you know, many masters already spoke about this. So what we do is we go out into life in creation, serving God, and we take aspects that are still very dualistic in nature, that exist in separation of that non-unified polarity, which is basically dualistic polarity. We take them in a tantric embrace, and what we do is we triangulate with them. So basically, trigonometry of God is a triangulation into unity, which is 1 + 1 actually equals 3. I've been teaching this principle for all of these years since I remember my origin as a creation angel years back, and the sovereign universal law through which we operate and create. So everything that is non-sustainable is built through this duality concept. Everything that is sustainable, life force affirming, life-giving, and immaculate is based on the trinity of life, right? Trinity also of love, wisdom, power. That's why you always see me say these things. They're not just words. There's the truth of God. So anyway, this central intelligence simply operates through us, and we operate through it. So that's my main essence. That's my core essence before I'm anything else. That's my work. And the level of this work is bringing things in this life. When I became first time physical in this body, is God just said, bring those aspects, bring those things, bring those souls closer to me, which means triangulate with them, bring them into a state of temporal union, so they can actually have an access to their own inner union, which is the union with God, union with the self, and their own tantric pairing, right? Because a lot of these beings along the course of events they forgot. Also, as I've shared this automatic channeling on Patreon, I revealed the main issues of the fallen beings, or the fallen angels, who were also creation angels from the very beginning, but they chose to rebel God, they chose to rebel the divine, because they felt somehow controlled by God. They did not want to create through the immaculate principles that always are in terms of how God creates. They wanted to rebel and exist separately, so they would become the central source intelligence for themselves. But you can't deny the God, the living essence of life that already birthed you. You were already birthed through it, so you can't deny your creator, right? Your maker. So along the course of this fall, what these beings began to do, and this is more deeply explained in the writing, I'm not going to go into it here. Anyone is free to watch and join, right, at any time. But the point being, this was not just a game for them, right? And because each time they went deeper into their own fall and separation, they lost more and more of their natural abilities to create, which they were also in the beginning first gifted with through God. They were the first creation angels, and each one was, let's say, in charge of a specific part of life, in a specific creation, structure. But these beings lost their power, so this is what we call evicted from the heavens, which means evicted from their own creator-like abilities to create through the image and likeness of Source. Those who remain loyal and faithful to God, we're still here. We always have been. We've never fallen ourselves. And this loyalty somehow triggered them because they wanted to, without being close to God and having that first source connection and, operate through this triangulation of life as the Tantrikas, they excluded themselves out of this. At the same time, they wanted to preserve the power. That was the main key. But that was not the only thing. The main objective was now, because they were so rebellious, that they resented those who still had the gift, and yet not just have it as in the beginning, but they kept refining the gift, right? So what they did is they kept attacking our creations. And a lot of these beings who were in charge to create beautiful vehicles of life that we know as human bodies, for example, and many, many other bodies. Oh, he's still here. They started to create experiments on them, destroy physical form, and I came all this far to explain transgression to you, for you, on the behalf of what I had to witness when creation angel became in form, embodied. And the only way to really dismantle this and to bring it to God in what is happening here, but also bring it to people into their awareness, is that this intelligence of a creation angel becomes physical. That was the only intelligence that was able to detect this in this physical game of life, right? So many use an energetic weaponry, and all was used. And those who remain intact with their immaculate life principles, right? Who basically in the beginning, when humanity was developed through principles of Elohim, which were the life-giving essences, right? The structural forms that provide the templates of life, which is also the illumined seed of life. And everything is written in that seed of life. So in the beginnings, the bodies were immaculate. Then with the fall and all the abductions and distortions and genetic hybridization and all these programs, they begin to descend. And that's why now you have humanity so low in their bodies. And even now with this genetic therapy, which is not really a therapy, it's annihilation of our human form, right? With these vaxes and all of that, right? And all of these are alterations of our physical form to become more degraded, devolving, no longer evolving towards God. The vehicles of life as human beings, human bodies were developed. So a being, when the soul ensouls this form, could grow closer to God. It could feel and could have a sensation of feelings and beautiful emotions. And as you can see, through time and eons of time, this got more and more distorted. And now most of humans feel very low emotions. They're very binding to the physical experience that is not so pleasant, which was not how it was intended at first. You know, when people say, oh God, why? Oh God, why? That's not in the domain of God. It's in the domain of the fallen beings. Everything that is based on suffering is because of these beings. It's because of the rebellious ones, right? Not because of the original creation angels such as myself and the team and legions of many beautiful beings. I can just tell you, they're amazing beings. All they wish is for the human bodies to thrive and prosper. So now moving to this current phase and my transgression and what I had to experience because of all of this, as I shared with you, I follow or I walk within the presence of great illumined beings and masters. But not only that, these beings that are always next to me, they're not just for me. These beings that I call the Aureus, they are like intelligent forms of understanding the body, the prototypes, because they themselves are the creators of the immaculate form and the seed of life. So the fallen ones wanted to abduct the seed of life from us. They wanted to hijack the seed of life so they could create through it, but in their own way. So in that way overthrow God as an aspect of the, you know, immaculate life. You already heard the story many times, just not in those words that we're offering to humanity at this point, or that is being offered to many, especially those of you watching this video now, you know, before it gets more widespread. It's just, we're just at the beginning stages now. And this was very stupid in a way, because you can't steal the seed of life. You can't. One who has it is because it's the one who's so close to God, who's never remained, you know, who never went the rebellious path, who's always remained within the primary narrative of what God is. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. In alignment with why transgression happened so intensely for me is because I am a creation angel, because all the portals already exist in my body to connect directly. During the course of this, what was very clearly indicated through my path, that what I channeled is directly what took place in my case. They wanted to abduct, you know, distort this human form. They wanted to distort everything about it. So basically when they come through, they would burn, they basically burn these energetic gateways that go all through your body. Like, for example, there's gateways in the body through which the light body connects with the human form, right? And so what they do is through this energetic weaponry, they literally burn through those gateways. So it's like access denied. Now you can no longer contain your physical body through your higher source intelligence, which for me is, I am Aurea, the principle of my mother creatrix prism of life, my mothering spirit, right? From which I originate directly into this human form. So because of that, I could not access it for such a long time. I told you, right? The configurations had to be first rebuilt, because there was so much of the distortion occurring in these overlays they created, and these inlays that are not the same as implants, but they're like more advanced aspects than implants, because an implant can be easily detected, an inlay cannot. And even many of very well equipped illumined light beings, they cannot always detect this, because the fallen ones learn to emulate specific things so in a complex configuration that our teams could sometimes they would have difficulties, right? So we had to study this a lot in order to then bring it to the light, and a lot of it was invisible. So that's why it was a difficult work, right? To work through everything that was kind of denying the access through these direct illumined body portals that for me as a creation angels, they were always direct and intact, but I had to first wake them up, right? So my journey was very much through cycles navigated and directed through these higher illumined light protocols that we then set up in our body, that I was working for years to set up in my body together with my team. During the transgression, so first these gateways were burned down, but that was the first part. There was one part, the essence of the thing is they tried to prevent an illumined seed of life to literally proliferate through me. And the illumined seed of life is in the tantric region, right? So the illumined seed of life for the woman is in the womb, and for the masculine, right, the masculine doesn't directly have a womb, but they still have a perineum area. It's where the source of inner kundalini, when the cosmic and earth kundalini meet, and you have your inner inward laying foundation for your inner kundalini as a result of your gateway self and your embodied experience on earth to manifest through you. And so I couldn't be any more that life proliferating, life affirming as I used to be before. So what they did, right, they created the distortion in my womb. During these 2 years, every single, after the transgression, right, which was the last cutoff before I stopped the phenomena from occurring, right, through, already explained 2 years ago what happened for me. I won't go into that again. But what this did, it's like, imagine for a woman in an illumined womb, it created like a ripping effect, like a tear in the womb. And for me, I'm, in a way, what I represent here in this realm is like I'm the root soul, or the root source soul for many who connect to me. It's like, in a way, I was like a hub station for many beings, many volunteer souls, many pure beings who also are celestial beings. Some of them just forgot. Depending where they are in evolutionary cycles, when they came into the timeline of their earth experience, it really varies and depends. Some of them are still very forgetful because they came such a long time ago. Some of them are newer ones. They are closer connected. They know more. They haven't had much of the earth experiences. It's easier for them. Either way, because I was the kind of like the hub station, I had this intelligence within me, right? Start with me and cut all of them off. So basically the main work I was doing now behind the scenes for years is I had to reset this energy that was just not aligned with pure immaculate life design, right? With the illumined template and the illumined seed of life, which is right at the center region. And that's why it connects with the sexual and reproductive nature in our sexual organs. And that's why, as I've explained before, so many humans have visions of being abducted and taken on aboard the ships and performed some sort of surgery or something, extraction within their sexual organs, and then they're told, yeah, this was an operation, it was good for you. Heck with that, it's not the truth. No one operates on you unless you give them your free will consent, right? Anyway, a lot of this was just veiling and masking the true phenomena, which was energetic. So this technology they developed, the fallen ones, was very much, it's like this thought, and we had to first, as illumined ones, we had to catch their thought waves. We had to catch their thought waves, which means their original intent. We did that, right? That was the first part of transgression work for us. As my team was studying all of this through me, I just was the physical vessel, and they were studying through me. So we were going into these distortions, gathering information, and then pulling them up and picking them up. And you know, a lot of people won't understand what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter, but at least please be open. That's what the little buddy here, the little lizard, told us in the beginning. Pay attention anyway. Maybe watch this video many times because it's happening to the entire Star Collective, because all of you here are important. If you're watching this video, you are very important. Unless you're a creepy stalker who's just here to, you know, get my light. You can't get my light. I'm programmed in a way that no one who's not pure will not get anything from my light, by the way. So back off, stalkers. Sorry. Anyway, going back to that intelligence, right? They knew that if they cut me off, it's kind of like the gateway for the entire star family will be closed off, because there's always one who, as that seed of the soul holds in themselves, they themselves are like the hub for life. And it's very difficult to explain. They've channeled this to me directly. I, as a human, like my human type, like my human mind can't understand all those things, but I just know them at a very deep, profound knowing level, okay? So try to attune to the video through that knowing part of you and your body reacting to the impulses of what I'm saying, instead of thinking with the mind, what does this have to do with me? Where can I put it? Don't try to put it anywhere. Just let it sink into you and move something in your body that maybe has been stuck in within this containment as well, because we've all been within this containment, just different levels of awareness of the phenomena, right, that we hold. So because of that, as I've said, at the main root level, if that was their first thought wave, if we can take the seed of life, we will reverse it and distort it. And we talked about this in the summer. I gave a mini summarization of the mission work I was excavating, bringing to the surface, but that was not all. So during the course of last 2 years after the transgression, and it started like this, when I started my first healing, that was when I first looked through what this is. It's like looking through a looking glass and saw for what it is. And I cried for one whole night. That was 2 years ago, 3 years and a half. And then my womb went through such deep pain during my period that I've never had before in my life. This was a tremendous pain, and it lasted for about a week of cramping nonstop. So then they told me that the main part of this is that, you know, has to do with the seed reversal. And it's like going into the distortion so deep that you can't connect to the pure tantric principle of life that I am, and I always was, and I always shall be, by the way. And for this last 2 years and a half, my body has been resetting this in stages, right? And I've told you, I think, in these videos as well, that I had some powerful birthing but so painful experiences during my period cycles, my menstrual cycles, that I've never had before, you know, before my body started excavating and releasing this transgression energetic inlay work that is a work of inception, right? And this has been going on, especially in this last year, and every one of my menstrual cycles has been deeply painful. And there have been like births. I've never had this before, and they always tell me this is a birth, this is a birth. And around that time, nothing would happen in my life. They would just annihilate everything else, put everything to the side, and I was just with this experience, and it was very difficult. And I had no one but to understand me, but at the same time, it affected me in a way, and affected my mother. It pulled her along the way, because as I was going through these experiences herself, she was more native to the earth, and she had gone through many different lifetimes. She was also Native Indian or Native American, and she had these lifetimes, and so she had these gifts that my transgression work help to trigger in her these gifts and to excavate them, bring them to the surface. So what took place yesterday was the most amazing experience, that even though with all of our experiences so far, and she served me so many times as a powerful healer on my path and a midwife, and I've been thinking so much about this, that what if this was such an intricate plan, if she was not activated and triggered and accelerated along the line of these last few years, she was not, my transgression really woke my mother up in a way that she was never woke before. And she was already awake, but this is like, it brought gifts within her that were not just, I think, originating from earth, but it's kind of like her earth experiences helped them to be anchored into the physical body so she could embody them, right? Because you can't use your gift if you're here, if you're in your mind, or if you're in an illusory, somehow astral state, wishy-washy, right? You have to know how to pull your gift down and synergize your whole body experience with it. So I was thinking, what if she wasn't activated? Our whole experience, our whole experiment go down the drain. Oh no. See how everything, illumined beings calculate everything. This is such an intricate intelligence, right? So let me tell you what happened yesterday. It started with the dream I had. And it didn't happen probably since transgression. I had these sexual dreams with my beloved energy coming through, the purest kind of my beloved. It's not a memory, it's a direct experience. And when I knew it was that one, my beloved always came through me through a specific body, like in a specific form. It's actually someone I knew before, but it was just chosen because I had an affinity with that energy and how my physical self, my psyche, connected with that person. It was years back. I was very young. And somehow he, my true beloved, comes through that energy, and didn't happen for me in years. And I had this dream, and it was this complete sexual closeness and intimacy, and this feeling of utter fulfillment, when only the two of you share that kind of fulfillment with each other. It was so beautiful, but at the same time, there were so many interruptions and intrusions. It's obviously someone did not want that union to happen in the dream plane. It was all these interactions, and we were in a room, and we were, of course, in our intimate moments. And it was so harmonious and pure, the flow of our energy when it blended. And then all these intrusions, and he was like, don't you see we're in the middle of something here? And all these intrusions. So dark worked very hard to prevent this union. Why? Because when I had this experience yesterday, I realized that it's the love of this union, this pure love, that triggered my whole womb to open up in a way and to release that last tangent of this, let's just call it the crapper. So I was in a beautiful state yesterday in the morning, in this dreamlike state, and I was meditating. We always do our same, transmission every day, every morning. Set up the energy for the illumined translation of illumined light, for dispensations to be received, and all that is toxic and incepted to be, basically swallowed up by the womb of the mother, who sends always this golden cosmic light spiral. And all this distorted and incepted goes and is being drawn by this high magnetic life force field that we create together as a group. I've explained this before once. Suddenly, in a meditation, I get this sentence. It was before a state. It's before a state of abruption. Let me see. I need to look at my notebook, because the thing is, how I know that it's them it's because they give me words and phrases in English that I don't know. And that's how I know it's not my mind, because I did not have that word in my vocabulary yet. They said before an abruption phase, and I didn't know what that was. I checked, I went to check what it is. And it said sudden breaking away of a portion from a mass. Okay, and there was another explanation that said it's a separation of the placenta from the wall of the uterus during pregnancy or premature pregnancy. And I started thinking, what? How? You know, what does this have to do with me? And I didn't know. And after the meditation, suddenly I went into cramps, deep cramps. I was in so much pain. I was like, what? It's my second day. How is it so painful? The first one was better, and suddenly I didn't know what else to do. I was just in so much pain. And then in the afternoon, I was lying in my bed because my whole, like from my abdominal region lower in my legs, I couldn't feel anything. It was like I was soft as cream. I was shaking and shivering, and my body was, something huge was moving through my body. That's all I knew. I couldn't walk. Even if I just got up, it's like my legs wouldn't hold me, and it was so intense. And I was lying in my bed. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't even come downstairs. My mother comes upstairs, and she's like, what's happening? I said, I can't move. It's too much. This pain, it caused something. Something's happening. And she said, she goes like, let me check. And I said, let's call Aurea. Can we do something? Can we do a facilitation process? And suddenly I'm like, okay, let's do a session, okay? And then she starts moving her hands in a way she's never been moving them before. And she was like pulling something down and out of me. And this never happened before in our sessions, but she started making these sounds. And I saw her like an image of a Native American midwife, you know, like a birthing midwife, like someone assisting someone's childbirth, right? Except this was energetic. And she started doing these sounds like, woo, woo, you know, when you do them at birth. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, I'm starting to breathe and breathe. And there was this heaviness. And the moment she was complete, she said she saw a vision of like a creature, like a mass, like a creature, you know, like I don't know, something of a dwarf kind of nature. No, it's like a goblin, like you know, something that's deformed in nature. And that thing went away. So it very much aligned with the whole analogy, right? A mass coming, a breaking of a placenta from a uterus, right? And at the same time, you know, there was this knowing that through menstrual processes, us women who are the carrier of the seed of life, is just through blood, there's huge cleansing. The menstrual blood is the purest liquid elixir that the feminine bodies can create because of the reason how we were created as feminine body prototypes, right? For the emergence and elevation through the principle of spirit as the light. Masculine, feminine, right? And in that instance, she saw this release. She said, you gave birth to something distorted. And of course, this was that distortion that was still sticking on. It was like a needy baby. And even next day, she saw a vision of something that was sucking on to me, you know, like a baby sucking on a mother's bosom, like sucking on for life force. And I was so life force depleted last week, I couldn't sleep. But for the last 3 nights, I finally slept. And this kind of led me to have that dream, eventually to unify with that love. And that love being the trigger, that deep love, so that the womb could have its final release. And they were telling me it's the final one. And I was having them for 2 years, okay? And they were so painful. And each time I couldn't control the process. I couldn't do much. My whole body would literally go into a state of being in this almost like out of body state, but still in the body. And I needed someone as a facilitator because as a light being, you have to know sometimes it's difficult. I'm always in the light. I'm always in the higher perspective. Sometimes I need something to pull me down. And she has that kind of energy. So she's the perfect healer for me to have in these moments. And she's so close to me and knows me, right? So we went through this process. And this thing birthed it out of me. And the moment she did her final, you know, I was like, oh, I started crying. I'm like, why am I crying? I don't even know why. I got so emotional. It was like something really leaving me, something yucky, you know. It was intense. Afterwards, I said to her, go sit on me and let's do, I saw a vision that we now need to put golden light. We need to put a triangle of golden light in my womb area, that my womb will now be brand new, and we're going to put a white lotus in it. And when we completed that process, right, we were anchoring a white lotus and that energy, visualizing that, putting like the illumination of my already illumined seed of life. And she was placing her hands and I was visualizing it, and we were doing with the sound. And then all of a sudden she looks at me. She's like, your eyes, your eyes. I'm like, what? What about them? She says, they never shone like this before. They're shining. She said, now you're really immaculate. I can feel it. She was having goosebumps all over her body. I'm like, I don't see anything. I don't feel different. She said, but I see it. And the reason why she saw it is because she's so subtly and energetically, she's an energetic healer. She has many, many skills. And she could detect something that most people couldn't, you know, in their self-based, you know, whatever, you know, people are so full of things, right? So you can't see subtle, non-tangible things if you're not really, really with the energy 100%. She said they're piercing much deeper now, and it's almost like how connected things are. When something is sucking your life force, there's a distortion. It also affected my, you know, because you know the tantric area and the inner eye are connected, and the inner eye, the third eye, connects with the physical eyes. There's a triangle here actually, right? Goes like this, and then there's a triangle in the womb, right? Like this. And it's our masculine mastery and feminine mastery that need to connect with the infinity looping process protocol of life intelligence. And we're just like hugging, laughing, kissing each other. We were so happy this was finally over. And of course I had some more pain and I couldn't sleep that well after this, but it was intense. Afterwards we called Aurea and we asked them some questions. And they told her that I'm going to be fully new now because my lumen seed of life will start to penetrate through me again and proliferate life through me, because before it couldn't. And then when I asked the question, what is this, can you have something more to share? And I heard something very funny. Didn't really make sense to me, but they said the collagen reserves will start building now again. I'm like, what? It's like, that's why I don't have hair. First they burned them all, you know, with their energetic weaponry here at the back. Like literally I lost most of it, and not just lost it, but it's burned. It's like this, it's frizzled. And I wrote it down, and I wrote, it's due to all this transgression and inception work that my body couldn't harness enough life force on its own to build a sufficient reserve and supplies of the most beneficial body proteins. You know, collagen is a protein, like one of the most beneficial ones. Hence all the hair loss, the non-growth, falling out, and all of that was connected. This was huge. They already implied during the meditation that I will have hair growing again gradually, but we will see. I'm still very like this about this. This is not my main objective. I mean, of course it would be nice to me. I am a lady, and it doesn't feel nice when your hair falls out and when it's burned, you know, like you would put your head in a toaster oven, but yet it's even worse. So anyway, this was huge. And then to translate my experience, right, to what's happening, I want to go now into this topic of sexual wounding, because all these things that people see, ETs, doing hybridization, taking things from our organs, doing work or doing energy work, parasitic energies we've talked about, right? Succubus, incubus that are attached to people. People have dreams of energies, entities making love to them, and sometimes very nymph-like looking creatures. These are these entities, right? We know the masculine and feminine versions, succubus, incubus. One goes for the males, other one's for the females. But all these entities are sucking the life force dry. Because when your life force is totally driven out of your body, you can't be a sovereign being. How will you make choices in your body? How will you set up the protocols of your spirit in the flesh? How will you master yourself? How will you illuminate your body? You can't. Everything needs a reserve of life force. See, all the body processes. So my body used all the reserves that it could build at like a minimum level for the most vital body functions, right? Heartbeat, nervous system, all these things. So it doesn't give much to that which is an axis, like hair growth or nail growth, or, you know, things that the skin, tightness, firmness, all these things for body were seen as the non-essential functions. But let's go back to the sexual wounding and trauma. Going back to my Inception of Unions video now, this is the biggest part here. I want to proliferate with my experience and move it into that. Why is this important for all of us? It is because this third energy I talked about in the union video, I talked about the Inception of Unions to prevent Illumined Union. Watch that if you haven't yet. It's a big one. But it's all connected, right? All of my videos are basically one. And so this third energy is that distortion. So today, actually, this was kind of confirmed because I just watched a reading before going out when I was in the bathroom, and a woman was talking about two beings and being connected, but there was so much stuff in between them, they couldn't come together. They couldn't see themselves clearly. They couldn't even access each other. But the moment that energy that's in between them is removed, they are already there with each other. They already see. They already are there. They can meet. They're there. And that's that thing. That's the third energy I talked about, which makes us looping. And because of all the sexual trauma inflicted upon us, masculine, feminine, we have different source of the trauma. But this sexual trauma is the origin of why we can't create in an illumined way, why we can't sexually engage with one another in an illumined way. And there's always things like either suppressed energy or lusty energy. And it's always created and expressed in an imbalanced state. It cannot be tantric and based on love, pure love. And it keeps people away from one another because it's sometimes too withdrawn or sometimes too intense. Hence, you have in this new age this term, the runner and the chaser. It's always two sides of the same coin, but they're extremities. They're not a balanced form of union. You either run or you chase, or you pull back or you attack. These are patterns. These are all inceptions. And because of these inceptions that were not inflicted upon us, they were done to us. This was energetic work. Higher level beings doing this work. Remember, no one here, none of you, everyone was just simply a victim of this. But no one is truly a victim, right? Because collectively, the group star being family is learning from this. And it pushes us, as I've explained before, to grow the gifts of who we are and to rebel to this inception and transgression work and say, no. From this moment onward, no one wounds me anymore, right? So when they do this wounding, it's basically when they bring two people together, but in between them is a trauma. So they're always being bonded through trauma. We call this trauma bonding. Research that, watch that, okay? And it's always like you're either super attracted to someone or super deflected, like super, like appeal, like they're, what do you say this? Repelled, sorry. I couldn't think of the word. Someone is appalling, you're repelled. Someone is appalling to you, you're repelled. Okay, that's that. Anyway, and this sexual trauma causes this in and out, right? Attracted, deflecting, and basically it just gives you more and more feeling of inner insecurity, makes you feel bad about yourself, makes you feel you're the one doing something wrong, and you're not. What you have to do is you have to go to the core of this healing. And in the pairing, there's something they showed me. In the pairing, when a woman takes upon a union with the masculine, right? So for me, I would triangulate, I would put someone in my triangulation process, in my unification process. Those of you who are with me on Patreon, we've talked about this, that it's the feminine in the union who's birthing the union process, not a masculine. That's why the masculine who doesn't have the same experience in this union process like the feminine doesn't mean that he's excluded from the union. He's just experiencing from a different angle, but he's in it. But it's the woman, because she has the womb, that's how the prototype was designed from the beginning. She's the one that does this physical work of birthing the union, and she uses her body to do that. And the reason why I'm explaining this is not just because I'm talking about myself here. I'm talking about all of us as one, and everyone will have to eventually get to the source of this information, what this is for them, how they can apply it so they can birth their own illumined experience. They can go back to their body being pure and sovereign and immaculate, cleansed of rigidity of control. Because the moment you have trauma, and all the traumas are sexual traumas, right? Remember when you first come into this world, then the first feeling is shame. Oh, you have to cover your pee-pee areas, right? And it's so much of this. We've all had it. Sexual trauma is not necessarily someone experiencing rape or some sort of sexual violation. Not necessarily. Like in my life, I'll tell you my example. When I was much younger, I remembered that someone just showed me their, and they were much older than me, and I was much younger. I was like, I just saw it. It was too prematurely for me, and that's already trauma. And it's different things for different people. But sexual trauma basically prevents your natural affinity to magnetize towards that which is yours, which is also seeking union with you. And creating the sexual trauma is usually why people are then also rather with relationships where they feel comfortable. See, the lizard is really making a fuss here because it's the truth. Because people then seek to recreate relationships like they're seeking another parent. If your inner child, which basically connects to this trauma bonding through a sexual distortion and a sexual wounding, a trauma, is you keep recreating relationships. There are people who are more like parents, like a partner of the masculine is more of his mother, and a partner of the feminine is more her father, right? The one who's, taking care of her. They're there, she feels safe and provided. And all of the people now in this realm, you can see them until they awake, fully awake in the body, tantrically, they will keep re-experiencing their relationship patterns as mother-father. Go and read Osho's book about this. I don't know the title, but he has one book about relationships, enlightened relationships, I think. He explained this phenomena. He says most people who in relationships, if they didn't do their inner child healing yet, it's like 8-year-old children having an adult relationships, but they never done a healing. They stick with the age where they stop developing. And we're talking about physical body development. You can develop your mind, and that's what people do. They're bringing information to their mind. Their mind is like this, huge, and the body's like this. How can you put all this mind in this body? It is what keeps recreating more and more of that sexual trauma. Your body feels stuck and stagnant. You can't produce its own self. It can't proliferate itself. It can't express itself that it wants to. That's what I call the controlled child. And our ego, which is basically a product of the deception mind, a mind that most masters, all of them say, it's a disease, it's an inception. So how can this huge mind, you're just piling up with information, not just this life, but all lifetimes, and you then put it into this tiny grain that the body you never invested in? Who now develops their body? Well, tantrikas do, but where is the rest of the people? Because they don't have the information of what's really happening. And it's the dark controllers that just bring you more information, more to know about, more. For example, someone recently said to me, oh, I don't know where the origin of our connection comes from. But, I like it. I just don't know where the origin. And I'm thinking, where do you think the origin is? It's love. It's God. And then they mentioned something to me about, oh, but maybe it's parallel lifetimes. Can I tell you something here, guys? Why every time you think you have a connection with someone, it has to be you had a lifetime with that person? Why? Are we only beings who had lifetimes on earth or elsewhere physically? Is that who we are at a very origin? No, we're beings of love. We're intelligences of God. And we don't necessarily have to have a lifetime with someone to feel connected to them through love. God put that love there. God knows what God binds together. God is an intelligent creator. Remember that. And if you feel an affinity, attraction, and love towards someone, that's of God. If you feel the mind and the looping, that's not God. That's your doubt in God. You're doubting this intelligence. And what is the seed of the doubt? It is the inception. It is the dark. It is the control. So when you have this sexual trauma and some sort of wounding, and you can't express yourself sexually in a pure way, that goes in your reserves. And you keep telling your body, I can't. You're denying it, the access to the purity of how you sexually liberate yourself, right? And that's the aim. That's what most people should start working on. Not developing more of the understanding of the mind. That's basically more logic analysis and self-control. So you're controlling yourself because of this trauma, the sexual trauma, and then you start controlling others. Like I would say something to someone and they would say, I don't like how you said this to me. No, don't say it in this way. They're already controlling me. Why? Because there's something in them that fears responses that are genuine, because they themselves cannot access this because it hurts too much. It's too painful, because there's so much reservoir of the pent-up energy there that if only they had this one first release, everything would start to unfold for them. But people are still stubborn to do this work, and yet is the most essential work, is healing the inner child, addressing our sexual trauma, feeling where this victimization comes from, because our sexual reproductive organs are the origin of where we start to cultivate our life force. This is how we create. Why do you think they go for the sexual organs? Why do you think all these visions of abductions and then working and on our organs? Why do you think the dark ones, I'm sorry to say something like this, but it is happening. Why do you think these pedophile-like beings, why do you think they're raping children? The innocence. They're going for that spark of life there. It's not for sexual pleasure, but it's the purest, innocent, most energy that they want to violate. That's transgression against life. That goes so deep. And most of beings here have had a form of sexual trauma. If not in this life, then you just keep re-experiencing something of an ancestral lineage pattern or something of a past life memory that you keep bringing onto this experience now. So let's say Source brings you someone who's pure of that, who's benevolent, and they gives you a relationship with that being, and you're like, no, but I must have had a past life with them. Why? What if you haven't? What if they're just here to love you and show you that there's newness, that maybe Source wants to bring something of the old that can move further along their journey, that's so stuck in this trauma. Source just brings that love to push you forward into life and healing that trauma bonding and healing that pain. Because you feel sexually repressed, or if you feel like at least a form of guilt. And for a lot of masculines, I'll tell you honestly, I've looked through dozens of videos on this so-called third-party situation when someone's with someone and they're constantly attracted to someone else. And I've done a lot of research, and again, this is another wounding that keeps on replaying until people really address it. It's so much guilt in the masculine when they feel a strong pull and attraction to someone else that's not either their spouse or lifelong partner. It's like they're cheating on someone, but who are they cheating really on? Themselves, because they're not really addressing what's behind this. They're just looking at it as a situation. It's not a situation. It's something in your life that's showing you there's something to heal. And this sexual trauma causes people to not come into their perfect unions, their right unions, to always be controlled, controlling themselves from the mind because they are manipulated. I've told someone once, you're manipulating me, pulling me in this energy because you yourself are manipulated from behind the scenes, but you can't yet see because you have to open your vision first. And that's the truth. And it's sometimes hard pill to swallow and to hear. But if you want to grow, and if you want to feel that you're also on this journey, if you're watching my videos, you also want union. Who doesn't want union? We come from it. We're created from this union. This is the most absolute love and fulfillment you can have. And who doesn't want that? Tell me one person who doesn't want this. Deep within, we all crave that love, that union love. But you can't have a partial union and call it union. Union is either immaculate union or it's not. And it's an organic flow, and it's complete sexual liberation and freedom between the two. And they're expressing this, and they're so open and vulnerable with each other, or they're not. And they have more trauma healing and, bonding, trauma bonding to unveil and to liberate. But either way, why are you doubting the impulses of God that are benevolent? The impulses, watch that video I made in the summer, Illumined Body Impulses, because I told you that illumined beings guide you through the body because the body doesn't control itself. The mind tries to control the body. And when there's enough overspill of illumination within you, you have enough self-love, then you will reverse that. And you're going to make your mind the servant. Yeah, your mind, you're supposed to be the servant. You're here to do some specific tasks for me, and that's it. When has the energy shifted so drastically now that people can really live as totally vibrant, vital, self-charging, self-proliferating with life, in existing in sexual partnerships that are healthy, organic, full of vitality, and they're constantly exuding this beautiful source energy of Hieros Gamos out, first from within, then into their partnerships, then proliferating further out into life. Everyone around them will feel, because you're literally connecting to that elixir of life, the divine mana, the source of life. But until you keep punishing yourself with the mind, feeling guilt, shame, regret, all sorts of pain, and not addressing the source of this pain, and where you've been cutting off from the source of union. Someone once told me that I had a few relationships with men, and I asked one of them once, because I was really interested how other people feel the beloved energy. I said, did you ever feel this when you were young, this kind of connection? And they said, yeah, I was holding a blankie and pretending it's my wife. It's kind of like my woman. It's a really cute way how the child connected, And then throughout the adulthood, we lost a lot of that feeling and say, oh, that's nothing, that's just nothing. Yes, it is. As a child, everyone knew a lot more than, people do now as adults, because they've pushed so many things aside, saying, yeah, but this is the real world, la la la. What is the real world? Hello, wake up. The real world is God. And we exist in our heavenly states. We exist in our refined forms. We are beings of love. We are here to create. We're creative beings, because we're made in the image and likeness of God. Anything else is not. reality, sorry. And sometimes people like me, we have to snap out of it and snap others out of it if they forgot what this is. I'm not here to contain this energy by sustaining people in this, oh yeah, they're there, yeah, sure. No, I will have to speak the truth, because that's the only chance someone has to maybe snap out of it once. Remember those childlike feelings you once had. Go back to your childhood. Remember the feelings. What were the feelings always telling you? What is the beloved? What is that energy that is other and total fulfillment? Look, in my case, of just having a short temporary experience in the dream, for me it's a lasting union. But in that dream, it lasted in a moment before someone was trying to prevent it, right? But it was so deep that love moved mountains in my womb. It caused me to have one last release of that distortion. And that distortion, Spirit told me. They said, when you gave birth to it as a feminine, the masculine you are in union with will also release. Because that's what the feminine does through her womb. She creates so much. That's why I said the masculine is not to doubt the feminine, because they themselves are not having the same experience. The masculine has to honor the feminine in her work and her part of the union, and they have to then step in their empowered role as the masculine in the union. Instead of comparing with the feminine what she's doing and not understanding it, let it go. See her as the queen, but don't fail to see yourself as the king. No one is more or less. We just have different approaches in the union. We have a different role, because even our bodies, as you can see, one is the receptive, one is the penetrative, right? It's basically how the bodies are created. In and out, flow and inflow, influx and outflux, give and receive. It's the fundamental principle of life. So don't live the distortion. Don't let the mind trick you and fool you and keep you in these stories, because that third energy that I gave birth to as this distortion, what it does, it creates this, like the woman in the reading said, this pile of rubbish that the two people can meet because of this, not because themselves or something being wrong with this one or that one. No, because of this that's in between. And we can only address this as each of our own individual pile. But the feminine does her pile work differently than the masculine, because her role in the body, and the union is embodied. You can't have union when it's not brought to the body. This means brought to your inner child. Physicality has to be in union. Your physical body has to be in union with life. You have to feel life and connected and allowing yourself and loving yourself so much that you say, I might not understand everything now, but yes, everyone is on the path of union, even me, even if I don't see it now, even my life looks like in a shambles. These shambles are there to liberate you. So whoever heard this message, I hope you heard it correctly, with benevolence. Anything I say, sometimes I use a stronger voice. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, but I don't have a microphone, so I don't know how much I have to speak loud, the people to hear me. I don't know. But it's not the only nature. Sometimes I get really, really intense. And I was reminded recently that, I'm very much the divine speaker, the communicator, but it's not with the majority of my gift, as most of my work is done energetically, but also with voice. One day, I don't know how soon, I might do this, what I call the Illumined Shaktipat, so Illumined Light Translation. I want to do this release for people who maybe have something still stuck in their bodies. I want to bring this pure seraphim energy of golden sound waves moving through. These are very high-pitched frequencies that can help people dismantle a lot of burden and baggage. I work with this energy also a lot of times in my sessions. Those of you who feel you have inner child trauma and work to do and want to get ahead, you can always schedule, just if you don't have let's say funds for a full-time session, just book an audio one. This is very deep as well. This is usually the spirit transmission I do with the Sacred Mother work, and it's for your inner child, and we're going to look at the distortions and then do the release work. And that's what I do. Aurea spirit is the spirit of liberation. So I hope I'm able to assist those who are meant to come along my way. I hope this message comes across as pure as it can. I put it to your heart. Please just do this healing, because when people who have the same amount of trauma, maybe just in different conflicting diversities, it's like they're always going to come clashing until they kind of shift from that and see that they can meet from this unifying space and the bubble that's meant to penetrate. That's the union, right? The Vesica Pisces. Instead of constantly bumping and hitting against the wall. That's not our aim here. especially not my aim here. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to embody and then, of course, teach this Illumined Union pathway. And I hope as many beautiful tantrikas will be birthed in this lifetime, if not at least seated. And it's my really strong desire in this life to pass this on, for people to be free, to people to love their bodies, to enjoy in their bodies, to enjoy in their unions. And these unions not to be karmic bonds and bondages, but to be unions where you can actually be with someone you love so much and you want to spend all of your time with them, and you're like beautiful, playful children with each other. I've already talked about this, right? That's the aim. That's what God wants. And if you're having epiphanies and visions of this, it's God telling you, this is the path. This is your highest potential. Maybe there's steps. Maybe it looks harder. Yeah, no one ever said it was easy. The path of liberation is intense. Yes, it will bring a lot of healing, but it will have the biggest gift that most of you ever experienced in your life and have yet to experience. So never doubt that. My heart, my love is always with you. As always, so much love is empowered. Don't doubt yourself. Don't think you've ever done anything wrong, but also don't be a victim to these things and circumstances that we're being inflicted with at all times. We can't allow it. And as happy as I am to be free, I'm not saying it was not painful and terrible to process, but I wouldn't choose it any otherwise, because my liberation will help the liberation of many souls, and I'm sure of it. And I'm sure that your liberation will then just keep on passing the gift forward as we keep on going deeper into the life that is illumined, immaculate, and designed and ordained by no other than God. Enjoy this time. We're approaching the time of the Easter. We will have many light dispensation coming through. So maybe I'll have some more transmissions happening at that time on Patreon. But until then, I wish you all a safe, blessed journey. And until we meet again, sayonara. Where's the little creature now? Hey! Hey! Well, now he went. Now we would need him. Like, go on my shoulder. I could brag a bit. Anyway, guys, take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Do you see him? He thought he could run away, but no. Hey, buddy. Is he hiding? I see you. Wait. Where is he?